And for more on the verdict right now, we're joined by Jane Manning. She's a director of the Women's Equal Justice Project and a former sex crimes prosecutor. Jane, let's start with your reaction. What do you make of the jury's decision here?
The verdict is a decisive victory, and it was delivered with astonishing swiftness. It suggests a jury of 9 who found E. Jean Carroll credible and compelling, and it suggests that there was a lot of consensus on that point, probably from the time they entered the jury room. It took them less than 3 hours to work through 9 counts on the verdict sheet. That suggests to me there was not a lot of debate about whether E. Jean Carroll was believed, and only debate about which of the counts they would find Donald Trump liable for and how much the damages would be awarded. It's a remarkable victory.
Ms. Carroll, not the first nor the only woman to accuse Trump of sexual misconduct. So what do you think this verdict means for those women?
I think this verdict is it is going to be greeted with joy and relief by all of the women who accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting them. I can tell you that they are not the only survivors who feel that way. So I am a lawyer who works for survivors of sexual assault, and my cell phone has been going off for the past 2 hours with messages of celebration and relief from survivors. They feel in a very personal way that this is a victory for all survivors.
What about the Me Too movement overall? Does this give it new momentum? I mean, after all, that's how Jean Carroll got into this, why she stepped forward.
It's a milestone for the Me Too movement. In many ways, this case was itself a product of the Me Too movement. E. Jean Carroll said that the thing that made her decide to come forward about her experience with Donald Trump was hearing other women who spoke out as part of the Me Too movement and looking around and saying, these women are being believed. They're not being dismissed out of hand the way they might have been a few decades ago. And that was what gave E. Jean Carroll the courage to speak out. But it's also the product of the Me Too movement in the sense that during the Me Too movement, there were a group of sexual assault survivors here in New York State who worked very hard to pass a law called the Adult Survivors Act. And that is a civil statute that allows victims a 1-year window from last November until this November to bring a civil lawsuit against a perpetrator of sexual assault. Those women were inspired by the Me Too movement, and that law that they managed to successfully lobby for in New York State is the reason why E. Jean Carroll was able to bring a lawsuit for sexual battery against Donald Trump. So this case, in a very concrete way, is a victory for the Me Too movement. I also hope it will give the rest of us the motivation to keep working towards a system that delivers justice to all survivors, because there are still many obstacles to other survivors that would prevent them from having a day like E. Jean Carroll had today. So there's still a lot more work for us to do.
There is. Okay, Jane Manning, thanks so much. We'll be watching the movement going forward. We appreciate the insight.
And we will have continuing coverage on our website. There you can find a timeline of the case, including the videotaped deposition of the former president. It's all at cbsnewyork.com.